And as we all know, much has been achieved in this period to put India to the top among the community of nations. Though a lot still remains to be achieved, we do nevertheless rejoice in the strides already made by India. We thought that this event would be appropriate to take just a few minutes and reflect on where we have been on our journey as a people and as a nation in India, and look at the promises that lie ahead. And we thought that we would do so through the heart of someone who shares with each of us our sincerest love for the land that has brought us to life, and is also an astute observer. So, a short presentation, India, the recent 60 years in the wheel of time, will be shared with us by Sudarshan Sathe. Sudarshan?
Good evening. Ashimda, thank you for that affectionate introduction. Today we celebrate with quiet confidence and a proud heart the story of 60 years of India as a constitutional republic. But with the awareness that the story of India's civilization is one of undeterminable antiquity. Archaeologists tell us that in the Sindhu River Valley, artifacts of human civilization date back 100,000 years. The digs at Harappa and Mohenjo-daro are more ancient still. And in this vast expanse of time, our civilization has tried to grope its way towards building a decent civil society. When the world was consumed with battles and conquests, we substituted taking to trading. This required Indian civilization to develop the number system. We evolved a language with grammar so elegant and vocabulary so descriptive that it has been a source of many newer languages, English surely being one of them. Over the millennia, India developed a variety of musical traditions, and the classical tradition is so complex and improvisational that even today it cannot be written down. It has to be taught by a living guru, with artists then rendering his own interpretation. But the most exalted flowering of India's civilization is the realization by its ancient saints and sages of the interconnectedness of all creation, the universal consciousness of which each and every one of us are indivisible part. Truly, that is the basis of universal brotherhood of man that India has been practicing for thousands of years. In this journey, there was also a dark night lasting almost 600 to 700 years. It was caused by internal division and needless infighting. First, from Central Asia, the attacks came, then the British. But by early 1900, India was once again able to gain its footing. It saw the rise of Rabindranath Tagore, who exhorted God into that heaven of freedom, O Father, let my country awake. It saw Lokmanya Tilak demanding freedom as birthright. and it saw Swami Vivekananda, who asserted in resounding tones the humanizing influence of India on all the world. From this context of this triumvirate arose a brilliant and wise British-trained Indian lawyer named Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, who shepherded India's destiny to that electrifying moment at midnight on August 15, 1947, when, in the words of Jawaharlal Nehru, a nation long suppressed found its utterance. In a short span of 3 years later, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, a Harijan and erstwhile untouchable, wrote and presented India's constitution, secular, democratic, with universal adult franchise for all its citizens. Initially, the socialist model hampered growth, and in early years, the bureaucracy was unwilling to relinquish control. But even then, there were visionaries like Vidhan Chandra Roy in West Bengal, who took the lead in establishing first IIT in Kharagpur. Then the ones in Kanpur, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai and Banaras, followed now by Guwahati, came on the scene. Medical education flourished in every corner of India. Thus, even when the world was treating India as an economic backwater, and India was viewed through the Cold War lens, India was quietly establishing its educational excellence, the many beneficiaries of which are in this very room today. In the last 20 years, with the growth of information technology, to diamonds, to Bollywood, to global business tycoons in automobile, steel and oil, India has burst forth on the international scene. With the success of Indian diaspora, all of us helping tremendously as well. People all over the world have really started to pay attention once again to Indian ideas. The original Indian idea of universal nuclear disarmament, once derided as naive and quixotic, has found adherents even among unreconstructed Cold War heroes like Henry Kissinger and George Shultz. Today, it is recognized as the only way forward. India's vision of acceptance, not just tolerance of other religious faiths, is seen as the only durable way forward. There is now fascination about the loud, engaging, spirited and noisy way in which India's politics are run, and absolute awe at the spectacle in which 1 billion people transfer power peacefully from one administration to another. But let us not forget, India continues to have colossal challenges. There is massive income inequality. Half the population still, sadly, lives below the poverty line of $2 per day. Infant mortality in some regions is higher than that in Africa. And yes, there is pervasive corruption. But we get the sense today that India is not daunted. There is determination to solve these problems in India's own way. India has a history of absorbing invasions, invaders, and making them their own. Throughout the millennia, India has shown the capacity to renew itself and move forward. Today, more than ever, India needs all its sons and daughters, no matter where they are, to lend a helping hand. Together, let us reimagine India's future yet again. Thank you and Jai Hind.